Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Lawrence Watson Show, episode 4, Better Than a BuzzFeed Quiz, Around the World.
And into your phone.
Or computer, or tablet. Or stereo.
Wherever you consume the Lawrence Watson Show, now available on 5 or 70 different formats.
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch now. And,
wax cylinder.
That's a good place for it. But anyway, we're here, we're back, and excited to be here, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm here with John and Jeff again.
Yo.
Once again, it seems like the show is blowing up. Not by listenership by any means, but
Blowing up.
But I was glad to see you have at least one prominent Twitter follower for the show. I don't know if you noticed, but I've been keeping an eye on these things.
Oh yeah, the show does have a Twitter, so you've been
Twitter?
following. So.
I've been following. Yeah, so follow. I don't know what useful, who might post an article or a show or when to find the show. But
a whole bunch of places.
You just post other people's tweets that are funny. And
yeah, people think we're funny. But, these guys understand humor.
There you go.
But no, who I did see was a former Pittsburgh area news anchor who I believe is now in Washington, D.C., Jim Lokay.
Oh yeah, he did follow me. I saw.
damn, I was hoping for Ken Rice.
Well, you can't have everything.
Yeah.
I don't think he tweets. If he did, it's probably not interesting.
Like Ken Rice. Like his newscasts.
Ken Rice has a limp handshake and doesn't look you in the eye. Remember that, folks.
John would know. He knows all about that kind of thing.
I also experienced it.
We were on Hometown High Q.
He's not wrong.
We're not wrong. He's not a jerk. Just
Bit of
has
a
that.
nudge.
Not even that.
Okay.
It's just that he has a limp handshake and doesn't look you in the eye.
Well, on that note, now that we've alienated him,
It's alright, he's not the follower. He's not going to unsubscribe or whatever.
he's not Coach Rod.
Maybe Jim Lokay is sitting at home going, "Oh yeah, he's
This
like
is great.
that."
Yeah.
Maybe he hates Ken Rice.
Anyway, so we're back to talk about all kinds of stuff. We actually haven't been gone all that long.
Finally,
This might be the shortest duration between recordings.
I think so.
It might be. Now, it may take me longer to edit this thing, but who knows?
Yeah, I think we'll do the whole thing perfect, and we need to...
Crisp and clean and sent on its way.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, the last one was quite a job. I mean,
Yeah. Well, we ended up with 2 hours of usable content, which...
And it was over, it was like 2.5, so... there was a good half hour or so of things that I got rid of.
I was thinking with 2 hours at the end, you would have to have started with about 14.
Usually.
So, if I recall, on the last episode, we teased a couple of things. The first thing that I inadvertently maybe teased was the fact that we were going to talk a little bit about the...
A very rare and valuable record.
Yeah. It almost pains me to say it. My mother is a big Beatles fan, as anybody from her generation probably is.
Not to mention the three of us sitting here.
And we're all three of us are big Beatles fans as well. And my mother had just about every Beatles record that there was. Just about everything. And for her birthday this year, we got her a brand new record player. So she asked if we could go and get the records that she had stored over at my grandfather's house. They were in a glass case underneath his record player. And she said that's where all her Beatles albums were. They were kept separate.
They deserve their own cabinet.
Yeah, they were kept separate, I guess. So,
I hate to admit this, but I'm glad Doug's not here because he would ask you about the record player and then tell you why it sucks.
well, I would just have to tell Doug, I don't know a damn thing about it. First of all, my grandfather's record player it would be like 70 years old.
Oh, the Victrola.
It was
Well,
ancient.
I'm talking about the new one you bought.
Oh. Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
Good.
Just a record player. It's just a record player.
Well, he would just start asking you about, what did it look like?
Oh, it was ceramic cartridges.
Then start giving you unsolicited advice about how to take care of it, what you should do to, soup it up a little bit. But he's not here. So why are we still talking about this?
I don't know. Why are we talking about Doug?
No, I was just pointing it out.
Well, anyway, so we went out to my grandfather's house where all the records were, and it wasn't just Beatles records that she had that she wanted back. So we went to go and find them, and we got a whole load of them. We got a whole trove of 45s, and he actually found he went into my grandfather's room where his record player was and looked inside the glass case for the record. So there's nothing here. Okay. What do you mean there's nothing there? I mean, there's nothing in there. There's no albums at all.
No.
So we got records from elsewhere in the house. I mean, there's nobody there. Hasn't been in a long time. But we went and got a bunch of records, and I looked through. I looked for Beatles records, any Beatles record at all. Didn't find one. So we told our mom that no, they're not out there. Somebody, probably the guy who had been out there to haul some timber away, or one of the guys who was out there fracking.
Or vagrants.
We're some really hip squirrels.
Hey, it is the middle of nowhere. Some deer could have taken it.
Just look for the deer that are rocking out.
Some fucking deer could have... who knows? But anyway, they were gone. So whoever took it, they were gone. And my mom was upset, justifiably, of course. So I thought, well, I'll try and figure out what she had and get replacements for them.
Yeah.
So I showed her album covers. Did you have this one? Did you have this one? So on and so forth. Yes, no. Yes, no. Is that it? No. And she mentioned one that she wanted that had a colorful, that was colorful. Yeah. So we were looking at, we were just looking at covers of mostly the American releases.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah. Because that's what this being American.
Because the UK studio albums are easy enough to identify.
Right. Yeah.
So these were some of the American releases, and one of the albums I happened to show her, I said, I know you don't have this one, that you never could have had this one, and it was Yesterday and Today, which those of you who are familiar with that know this is the Beatles Butcher cover.
Mm-hmm.
I turned my laptop around and showed it to her. I said, I know you didn't have this one. She says, oh no, I had that one. I said, what? I said, no, you didn't. You said you couldn't have had that one. Nobody has that one. She said, no, I had it.
She said, I didn't even get a chance to open it.
That would have been terrible.
Shit. Oh.
Well, no, but
all right, I think it might be time to inform the listeners that aren't familiar with where this is going.
So the Beatles Butcher cover, those of you who aren't familiar, it's a
Yesterday and Today.
Yeah, it's the album. It's a picture of them with like baby dolls that have severed heads.
Well, they're
wearing butchered
white butcher coats with fake blood smattered on them with a bunch of pieces of baby dolls.
Yeah.
Now I'll interject just to get a little bit of history. The reason why was that in 1965-66, the Beatles had about enough of American record company Capitol essentially butchering their songs, because they would record a record in England and release it, and then Capitol would just take their songs and just cut them up any way they wanted to, and so that's why you have American albums that didn't match the Beatles, other albums, American albums with different names than the English albums, and so they're kind of a protest of Capitol Records butchering their work. And of course, it was kind of a shock to the listening public, and so a lot of them were immediately recalled. Yeah, there was a big outcry over the covers.
When you think about it, back then, the concept of the album was not...
It was kind of novel.
It was a relatively new thing. So I guess to the record companies, it wasn't a big deal to go and just move the songs around the way they felt like
it.
The company... Because they didn't think like, these are supposed to go in a certain order the way they wanted. And they just say, we'll put this one here.
Put this one here.
Well, they just saw an album as just a bunch of songs.
Yeah.
The Beatles saw an album as a piece of work front to back, not necessarily a concept until you get to like Sgt. Pepper.
Right.
But that's where they wanted them to go, and their singles were their singles, and they were released separately. But Capitol didn't see it that way, and they figured they'd make an extra quick buck. You can squeeze a few more songs, or a few more albums that people will buy, especially this one, because this is one of those albums. It's not really a...
This isn't a... Yeah, this is a... It's one of those chopped up albums.
Yeah, it's not like Rubber Soul, you know.
Yeah, this is... This ain't Abbey Road. Yesterday and Today ain't Abbey Road. I mean,
even the American Abbey Road is different.
Yeah, well, you know.
We're getting way into the weeds of that.
And we have plenty of time to get into the weeds.
Oh, yeah.
So...
I got the place all night.
So, I said, how could you possibly have this album? I actually looked the prices up on eBay on my phone before we started.
Okay, and what do you got for mint condition?
Wait, hold on. I want to do Price is Right rules. I'm thinking...
All right,
we can make a game out of it.
Are we going to start at fair condition, which is probably what your
we can start at fair condition, which is what would be the condition of the album.
Fair condition, I'm thinking 30 grand.
Higher.
45.
Higher.
50.
There you go.
I was actually going to say 50.
Shit.
50 grand for a fair condition album of Yesterday and Today with the intact cover.
What if we have the record, but not the sleeve?
No, I'm telling you, this is it. You can see the little logo in the corner.
So, needless to say, I wept at the news.
Somewhere Taps was being played.
Yeah, we
actually, you know what? I'm just gonna
John is doffing his cap.
Yeah, and the single stoic tear as well.
So she had the album, and she told me how she got it. It turns out they used to drop Beatles albums around here, usually on Saturdays. And that Saturday, she would every week, or every Saturday, she would go out and get new records. Beatles, whatever. But they'd always drop Beatles albums on the weekend because everybody would go and buy.
Yeah, cruise on down National Record Market.
Yeah. So she got a copy the day it dropped. I imagine. So I mean, it made sense to me. She recognized the cover. She didn't know what it was worth.
Yeah. When
I told her, she was upset, but then there was the whole... Well, I wasn't going to sell it anyway. It was just something to have. And it's like, no, you don't understand.
$1,000.
When she bought it, it was only worth like a few bucks or something.
Yeah. She used to get records in bulk.
I mean, just to have a real piece for the sake of having a real piece,
I mean, it wouldn't have... I mean, it would not have been in great condition. I mean, it would have been in okay condition because it was... all her Beatles albums were kept separate and that, but... God damn, that one hurt. That one hurt, really.
I have a question. So, a lot of those records, they had the Butcher cover before they released them. They put some kind of stick-on thing over it.
Right, yeah.
So how much are those records worth?
Those are worth, I would say, in mint condition, they're worth about maybe $1,000. In fair condition, about $700. Because there's a lot more of them. Actually, there was a coworker that had this exact same conversation, and it turns out he had the Butcher cover that had the replacement cover slapped over it. He sent me a picture of it and everything, and it was in poor condition, so it's not even worth the damn record. But still, it's kind of like a little piece of what the hell was going on that day in 1966. But
now, what would half-priced books give you?
Well, I mean, it's not the cellophane, so I'd probably give you about, people don't listen to records anymore, so probably go about
50 cents.
I can go about $2. Is that a new wing to the store?
Did you guys expand recently? But yeah, so that one was a heartbreaker. I mean, I'm and for me as a Beatles fan, I would have loved to have had one and felt felt it in my hand.
Don't touch it.
And thought, wow, this is a real piece of history here.
And that was in the safe deposit box down at PNC.
Yeah.
So your grandchildren can retire.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, when I told Laura about it, what's the big deal?
Oh, get out of here.
No. She was like, oh, that sucks.
All right, I'm going to make an appeal to Laura because we know she listens.
Yeah.
Laura, give the Beatles a chance, will you? Please.
Yeah, what do you like, Midnight Oil or something?
Well, she said she'd like to do karaoke with us.
Oh.
At
Level
some
20
point.
it is.
She'd like to do that one of the days, you know.
That means I'm going to learn a song just for her.
And she was asking me what should she learn to sing? What song could she sing that's not too high, not too low?
Whatever her wheelhouse. Well, I mean, everybody sings in the car. Just figure it out.
So I figured I'd ask. She's asking, so I said, well, I don't know. I gave her a whole bunch of stuff that she could try out, and she said she was thinking about an Elton John song.
Ooh.
And she likes Elton John a lot. So
Elton John is awesome.
Well,
until about 1977. And then he came, and A3, he was good again, and then after that, you got Lion King, and that's about it.
But, so she was thinking about an Elton John song, so I threw her a bunch of YouTube videos and said, here, you can pick for yourself.
Did she come across her decision yet?
I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
All right, we're going to level 20, because every time we go, something weird happens.
You know what I think she should sing? I think she should sing something by Olivia Newton-John.
It's funny because I don't like, I don't like the musical Grease. I really don't. I never have.
There's a few good tunes from there.
I just have never liked it for what,
I'm not a big fan of musicals in general.
Just musicals in general. We know your opinion,
yeah,
Jeff.
but there's a couple good tunes.
Well, fair
maybe
enough,
one or two.
Fair enough, but I just have never liked the show. I never really liked it. So, but anyway, I digress. But she likes Grease.
Yeah, I think Grease is something you kind of grow out of after a while.
I don't know. She liked.
Once you turn 12.
Well, there was one song that she still really likes on. I'll have to ask her. But But anyway, way off topic for what we were going to talk about.
I don't have any notes anyway.
Well, that's true. So
we're not on an agenda here.
Yeah.
But yeah, give the Beatles a chance, and here's why: because never before or since did you have such a combination of commercial and critical success as the Beatles. You have 4 musicians and 2, 3 later songwriters that complement each other so well. It's just damn magic.
The Beach Boys are comparable.
Beach Boys are comparable.
Critical and commercial success.
Critical and commercial success as well, and they have some just good damn songs. The Beach Boys' problem that you had your tortured genius that went crazy and walked away from what could have potentially been a masterpiece.
Yeah, Mike Love, damn.
Al Jardine, dude. But and we could probably talk about the Beatles for
hours and hours.
So we're going to. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, if it got that bad, I could just edit it down, But I mean, so I thought, well, what? So anyway, I thought, well, I'd just find replacements for all of my mom's lost Beatles albums, so she'll at least have the albums.
Except for that one.
But I can't, there's no way. I mean, it costs more than our house.
Well, you think grand laying around?
It costs more than anyone's house. Costs more than it's comparable to the house my brother bought.
Well, we hit the Powerball. I'll think of you.
So
money's no objects for a good personal friend.
So but speaking of karaoke, there'll be another. I'm sure I'll have another Ringo song ready that I'll have to do.
Well,
did you do Octopus's Garden?
No, he told me to do that at the party on Saturday.
Or Don't Pass Me By.
No one had. Who's gonna have "Don't Pass Me By" on with just the backtrack?
No.
They do that one a cappella. Just here's the microphone. Let's go sing it. Get out of here.
They have the giant binder sometimes.
Giant binder
could be anything.
Isn't that deep?
Well, I thought I
and
talked
definitely
about
a lot of Ringo songs in there.
Well, I talked about doing "Excitable Boy." I can probably do that.
I don't think they have much of the
Warren Zevon.
You can't get too obscure. You have to get you can probably do it with a little help from my friends, because they'll have it, and you can do it. Because Ringo is your wheelhouse.
I actually probably, funny thing about that is I probably, if I practiced, could probably manage the Joe Cocker version.
Ooh. Listen, man, I've performed that exactly 3 times with other people, live musicians. It ain't so damn easy, because there's a lot of filler that you have to come up with at the time. Well, if you listen to the song, you'll understand.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's not just straight through with Joe Cocker. You have to go. Oh, yeah.
It would have been a lot easier. It would have been a lot easier if I was still drinking.
Well,
Take a night off.
oh,
Take a night off my sobriety.
Exactly.
yeah, he's off the wagon again. We're worried about him.
Yeah. God, you guys missed that whole time period too.
I know. I would love to see an alcoholic Lawrence.
Jesus, 30? That gets expensive.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
I mean, when I had stand up paid for my habit.
Like Fabergé days. I think you've had enough.
Yeah, last call. No, not for me. I'll take another.
And for all my friends.
I was one of those. I always wondered and always thought someday there'd be like an Andre the Giant type story about me.
Problem is, nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm sure there were people that saw it, but
Yeah. Nobody
would know me or remember.
You certainly don't remember.
No, I don't really. Well, I know. I mean, I knew it when I would see the receipt.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I don't have a problem at
Yeah,
all.
I drank 57 mixed drinks.
Just do the rest of the show like that.
You were a
like
screwdriver
Andre the
man,
Giant.
Lawrence. They have
Yeah.
all that stuff at the store. You
I
just
drank 57
two separate
screwdrivers.
stores, but still.
I do the Andre the Giant story when he wanted
the
a
bar.
screwdriver on the plane. And the lady brought him a screwdriver.
What they do is give him a 5-gallon bucket?
No, they brought him a screwdriver. A screwdriver.
Oh! He's making the hand motion.
Yeah,
Like, this is a tool he's talking about.
an actual screwdriver that you unscrew things with.
Yeah.
Oh shit! If you do that now, you'd get an air marshal shooting you in the head.
Well, the stewardess brought it to him, and he says, "What would you have brought me if I'd asked for Bloody Mary?"
Oh!
Yeah, that kind of sounds just like an old joke, though.
Well, I mean, I've heard it from so many different people.
All attributed to Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Originally, I just thought it was Bobby Heenan telling a story.
I thought it was just.
But I heard it from other people too. So.
Even Wade Boggs told that story.
Yeah. Wade Boggs. He used
Oh,
to
you're
bathe
getting
in
it,
beer.
Boggs. And I say England's greatest prime minister was Lord Palmerston.
Pitt the Elder!
Lord, we got to stop this, or we'll go all night.
The rest of the show is an hour and a half of Lord Palmerston, Pitt the Elder, until Lawrence punches Jeff.
Let's do the whole episode from memory.
God. We'll have. I mean, Four Finger Discount really has a whole niche there, but one of these days we'll have to talk about The Simpsons.
Yeah, we do. They have that market corner, though, because they
They do. They
do a good job and have much less banter than we do.
We have some.
We should
the
do the
whole
same
show is
thing.
fucking banner.
We should do the same thing, but with a different show.
All right.
We have a
Mama's
new
family.
show.
Mama's Family.
Mama's Family.
Yes. Mama's Family.
I know
podcast.
for a fact that my mother would definitely tune in for that.
There's
because
one
she is
listener
a huge-
already.
Yeah, she is a huge Mama's Family fan.
Or maybe we can just do it at your house and I can stay home. Save me from watching Mama's Family. Although I'm willing to do Golden Girls, because that show's actually funny.
I never watched Golden Girls too much.
Actually watch it, like, it's funny.
I mean, I've seen it, but I never really watched it closely too much. I've seen some, but like, I did a podcast one time, one of my friend's old podcasts. We were talking about Night Court the whole time, and we just talked about the series in general rather than a specific episode. But that's one I can do.
We could do Night Court.
You can do Night Court.
Nobody's doing Night Court.
Perfect Strangers or
Perfect Strangers.
Hey, that series is on Hulu now. I was so surprised to see it on Hulu.
Yeah, but are we going to sit through that? Like, is that show that as good as anybody remembers it?
Probably not.
Probably not. No.
But Night Court is.
Night Court is.
Night Court is, yeah.
Night Court definitely is. Night Court holds up today.
We could do Cheers.
Cheers is a good show.
The Cheers podcast.
I think Cheers was on for longer than Night Court.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Cheers was on for 11 years.
Yeah.
How long was
Night
Night
Court?
Court?
9.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Night
That's
Court
a
was
lot
9.
longer than I thought.
They went through 3 bailiff ladies. How long?
Well, they are all old.
Well,
Not Ross.
no.
That's right. That's right. But
She was
the
one
last
that
one.
stuck.
She didn't die.
Yeah, well, you know. There was a lot more cast turnover than just the bailiffs, though, too. They had a lot of cast turnover on that show from season 1 to season 3.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Who besides the bailiff?
Well, they had it. Mac, the black guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't there at the start.
Wasn't the original
Charles
black guy?
No. I can't remember what he did. He was the bailiff. No, he wasn't.
No.
Bull is the bailiff.
Bull was the bailiff.
Bull was the bailiff, and the old bailiff ladies were the bailiff.
And
Then Roz.
What the hell did Mac do?
He was like a clerk.
Yeah, he was the clerk.
He was a
Yeah.
clerk.
He wasn't there at the start. It was a girl.
Marky Post wasn't there.
She wasn't there. She didn't come until season 3.
Really? What was she, like a prosecutor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was the prosecutor.
No,
only...
she was the defense attorney. John Larroquette.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's right.
With
That
his
makes
snide
more
remarks.
sense. Because he's kind of an asshole.
Okay. But the funny thing about that is only Harry Anderson, rest in peace.
Did you say Harry Henderson?
Harry Anderson. Anderson.
I forgot that he died.
Yeah. Just this past couple of months ago.
Let's not dwell on that.
Yeah.
It'd be sad.
But Harry Anderson, John Larroquette, and Richard Mull were the only ones to appear in every episode.
Bull.
Oh. And from what I understand, it was the stumbling block of a reunion was between the three of them. That's why the show never did they did do a reunion thing on 30 Rock that
They
one
did,
time.
yeah, but Bull wasn't on it.
Yeah, he wasn't on there, and neither was Dan for that.
No, he wasn't. They had Marky Post,
Yeah,
I can't remember her
and Harry
characters, and
Anderson.
Harry Anderson.
But the reason being is because John Larroquette and Richard Mull had a massive falling out
Well, for what?
over the fact that John Larroquette got 4 Emmy nominations in a row and Richard Mull didn't get anything.
He played Bull.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is since Dan became such a popular character, they were giving him more and more to do. And Richard Mull thought, well, I'm a bigger star because they market the show around me.
Yeah, but he also played kind of a dope. They never give the Emmy nominations to the dopey
don't
guy.
Play a dopey guy.
Well,
Exactly.
He was jealous. It was a jealousy thing.
I mean, that would be like if you gave an Emmy nomination to Lowell on Wings.
Love Wings. That's another show.
Who cares?
Well, the guy who played Lowell was in Spider-Man 3.
Thomas Hayden Church.
Thomas Hayden Church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
He was
the
in
movie
Sideways.
He was good in Sideways.
Yeah, he was.
He fucked everybody in that movie.
Never saw Sideways.
It's a good movie.
Even that large one. What? He did.
Yeah, he did. he did fuck everybody.
And those are the only tits you got to see in that movie. Were hers.
Well, it's a comedy, isn't it?
Kind of.
Kinda.
Kind of.
Just Paul Giamatti being
It's,
depressed all the time.
like
Is he whining a lot? That's
Oh,
my picture.
yeah.
he is at his whiniest
All
in
right.
that
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
I never saw the movie. I just
Yeah,
heard of it
yeah.
and seen some commercials, or I can't remember what I saw of it. But
Yeah,
it seemed
Paul-
like it was just Paul Giamatti whining a lot.
Yeah,
It
he is
is.
at his whiniest in that movie.
It's a good movie.
It is good.
If
But I mean,
a lot of
it's-
whining.
And then
It
there's
is
an
worth
Asian lady.
keeping in mind that this is before Paul Giamatti whining became a thing.
Yeah.
This is why it became
This
a
is
thing.
this is the role that made him.
This is the role that made him whining a thing.
Now he gets typecast as the guy who whines a lot.
Like
I
John
just loved you
Adams.
so much whining. Like John. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
John Adams certainly whined a lot. For real.
Well, at least he knew he was obnoxious.
Yeah. But I mean, the funny thing is, too, is that nobody really went around saying that he was obnoxious until he became president.
Mm.
He thought he was obnoxious and disliked from the get-go.
Oh, when you said John Adams, I thought maybe there was an actor I never heard of named John Adams.
No, we're talking about.
But you're actually
the
talking about
role-
the President John Adams.
The role
The
of
old John
President
Adams.
John Adams, played by Paul Giamatti,
Oh.
That was a pretty good miniseries, I
on that
thought.
miniseries called
John Adams.
So the real John Adams was a little bitch?
Kind of. He was
well,
obnoxious.
He could be. I mean, it has to do with, like, it kind of had to do with where he was from, and in those days, anybody from Boston was kind of stuck up and uptight. But
I'm John Adams!
We're gonna write a fucking constitution, dude.
But the thing about that is that he always described himself as obnoxious and disliked and suspected, and he was extremely paranoid. But nobody really thought that way. They thought, oh, John is this great asset that we have to to our cause, and everybody kind of liked him. I mean, he was kind of he kind of graded people the wrong way, but they kind of liked him. He was kind of like a mascot.
Oh.
Ben Franklin liked him. Thomas Jefferson liked him. Everybody liked him. He didn't really get to be an asshole to these people until he went to France with Franklin and was cooped up with him the whole time.
Well, I think they were probably grading each other a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Because they took totally different viewpoints on how to conduct diplomacy.
And Ben Franklin liked to be naked all the time.
That is true. He didn't.
Did they have to share a room?
Once. They did really once, and there's a good story about that. It's and it really has nothing to do with him being naked. They had to just share the bed because that's what you had to do.
That's what you did in those days.
And
Strange
Franklin believed always in sleeping with a window open. They were in Philadelphia in the middle of winter.
So it's cold.
So it's cold. Those of you who know Philadelphia in the winter.
Well, buddy up.
And they were buddied up, but Franklin always wanted the window open. John Adams thought this was ridiculous.
It's cold.
It's cold, and the consensus was that if you left the window open and you let cold air in, you get sick. And Adams said, well, I'll get sick if we leave the window open. It's cold. Franklin says, scientifically, of course, that's not correct. I mean, he offered all sorts of scientific evidence as to why this wasn't correct and why actually one should leave the window open, get the fresh air moving, So they just got on each other's nerves, and it went downhill from there.
Well, at least we should compromise and leave the window cracked.
I don't know how it ended.
It's really funny to think that statesmen today are so babied and they have all these assistants and all this kind of shit. And back then, it was two guys bitching each other in an inn or a tavern or something because they couldn't decide on whether to leave a window open or not.
So I guess they were still pretty petulant back then as well.
Yeah. It kind of just...
Ben Franklin liked to take air baths.
Ben Franklin liked to do a lot of weird shit. Mm-hmm. He was what we would consider today an eccentric.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if... I used to teach for a while.
Yeah, you were a teacher.
Whenever I was student teaching, I had 7th graders. I did social studies. That was my content area. But at the end of the year, the real teacher had all the kids write me a nice letter saying goodbye and something that they remembered. And the number one response that I got from, I don't know, maybe 75 7th graders was, my favorite moment in class was when you told us that Ben Franklin took air baths.
Well, he did. And those kids will never forget that, I imagine.
And he also got around a lot.
He did, and there was a question. I don't know if you guys go to that site, Quora.
I've heard of it.
No.
Okay, well, it's just a bunch of people. They ask questions, and a bunch of idiots answer them. I'm one of those idiots.
Good for you.
So,
But I'm the best idiot.
Somebody asked if Ben Franklin had venereal disease.
Probably.
Probably.
And I thought, that's an interesting question. There's really no indication as to whether or not he did. And they used to write that shit down.
Oh.
You would know. and the only idea that I could come up with was, well, if he didn't, it would be only because he slept with women who had a pedigree.
He was vetting them?
Kind of. He only slept with society women.
Was he asking for papers?
Well, he only slept with society women who would be less likely to have VD because they would only have maybe 1 or 2 partners.
Oh.
He chose his mistress as well.
How did he verify that?
Well, I don't know, but I think maybe if it came down to it, it wouldn't have mattered. But they knew about VD then, and they talked about it, and they wrote about it incessantly. George Washington wrote Congress a note complaining that all his soldiers had VD, and something needed to be done about it. So They called it the French disease.
And all the soldiers got it from each other.
Ooh.
So Ben Franklin, he wasn't taking some broad out to the outhouse behind the tavern.
Not that I know of. But how do we get on this topic of VD?
Which of the founding fathers had it?
Yeah, which of the founding fathers had VD and which didn't?
Well, which ones did? All we said was Ben Franklin did it.
Well, I don't know if he did or didn't. If he did, it was an extraordinarily well-kept secret.
Or maybe he just had like chlamydia or something that just,
didn't bother you
not as
much.
bad as
it.
It burns when I piss, big deal.
He probably wouldn't have given that a second thought. But there was a lot of speculation at one time. The reason why George Washington didn't have any children was because he had some kind of venereal disease or something.
Oh.
And that actually is not true.
Oh. Well, that just takes the wind out of our sails.
I know. I mean, everybody wants George Washington to have VD. I think. I think the British especially would have liked this news, but
the collective sigh of the audience.
He was actually just impotent.
Yeah, he really was just impotent because he was sick all the time.
Oh, he was really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
he
just
was
made
sick
that up.
He was impotent. He was sick all the time. He had smallpox. He had all kinds of fevers and whatnot. His face was all scarred up. He would have looked like, really, he would have looked like Bill Murray, all pockmarked.
Oh, like Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
And he had red hair.
He did have red hair.
Mm-hmm.
He did have red hair. So, there's that.
It sounds like old George Washington didn't have much of a constitution.
Oh!
Well, honestly, if he probably had a tremendous constitution, because if he didn't, he would have died.
That's true.
Turns out he did die.
Smallpox usually kills people.
Yeah, and his doctors eventually did him in, unknowingly, of course.
Well, they didn't. Yeah, they did.
When you bleed,
take some blood out.
He needs an injection of lead.
when you bleed a guy of half a gallon of blood.
Half a gallon.
Yeah, it was something like that. He lost I think they said it would have been equivalent to 60% of his blood volume.
His veins are rusty. We need to replace his blood with oil.
So his doctors, Larry, Moe, and Curly,
give him the anesthetic.
Hey Moe, give him the anesthetic.
Anaconda punter. Cotton.
Cotton.
That's a callback. That's what we call in the industry a callback.
Yeah, you wouldn't get any of that unless you listened to the last show.
Yeah, so listen to the last show, goddammit.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
So anyway, there's that. What were we on again?
We were on presidents.
Somehow we got into
disease.
Politicians who had VD, which brings us to Donald Trump. No,
we'll say that for.
That's another topic.
Does he have VD?
No.
I don't think so.
He's a germaphobe. You listen to him?
Yeah, he is a germaphobe. That's true. He won't. No, I'm not even going to go there.
Oh, come on. Give us the juicy detail.
What, the juicy detail?
Or tease them for the second half.
Okay, we're going to tease the second half of the things Donald Trump refuses to do and eat because of his germophobia.
After the break.
Coming up after our break. So, anyway.
We paused 10 seconds for station identification.
Yeah. But we've got a lot of stuff coming up on the other side of the break. We're going to discuss...
No, shit, really?
We're going to discuss a few things like... John and I went and saw the World Cup final out together with Doug.
With Doug.
Who's not here to defend himself.
He's been fired.
Yeah.
He got a juicy Sanford's package.
Yeah.
I bought him a beer. Really?
So anyway. So we're going to discuss that, and we're also going to discuss... a movie that Jeff and I both enjoy quite a bit, and there's actually...
John also enjoys the movie. He's a big fan
too.
As well.
Oh, you're a big fan of this one too?
On the movie,
He hasn't followed the...
I haven't followed the major players since.
Oh, okay,
But,
I see.
the movie itself.
I'm going to edit that out then.
Holy hell.
Well, anyway, so we're going to talk about a movie that all three of us, appropriately, are big fans of.
And it's also a recommendation to the audience that hasn't seen it.
Yes.
So can't give too much away.
Yeah, so... We'll talk about that and other things right after this short commercial break.
The Lawrence Watson Show is brought to you by Larry's Seafood Barn. There's never a wait at Larry's Seafood Barn.
So, we're back after that quick commercial break.
It's nice to have sponsors, you know?
Yeah, it's nice that people are supporting the show.
Exactly.
It's wonderful.
Let the residuals roll right in.
Yeah, we're making bank.
We're billionaires.
Yeah. We don't record this podcast in the middle of a living room.
With a dog as our executive producer.
Yeah, with
Exactly.
cheap microphones that I got for free.
You're talking about we spent thousands to get this sort of campy, sound quality.
That's true.
Yeah, you'd be really surprised how hard it is to recreate it with all these filters that you can use with expensive equipment like we have. Yes, well, we are in show. You just want to make it seem like you're really among the folks.
Yeah, we don't want to seem overproduced.
Exactly. I mean, you really want that raw quality.
We're not trying to impress anyone.
Speaking of overproduced,
content, man.
Yeah. We're all about you, the listener. Coach Rod, Earl.
Coach Rod and Earl.
The listener. Singular.
Should we tease the visit from Coach Rod coming up?
Yeah, actually, let's do that before we get into our topic.
Yeah, when is he coming?
I think I spoke to him August at some point.
Yeah, some point in August. Now, I'm on vacation at the end of August and into September, so we'll just avoid that.
Just give me your shit. We'll do our own podcast.
Well,
damn it, it's my show.
Well,
it's the Lawrence Watson Show, starring not Lawrence Watson.
He's absent this week. I'm your guest host.
Good evening. Lawrence Watson is off tonight.
Yeah, Carson didn't always do Carson. Well, it wasn't called Carson, but
yeah, he 3 nights a week.
Hell yeah.
That's
Float Judd Rivers out there.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Coach Rod is going to be a guest on the show coming up sometime next month.
We have no idea what the hell he wants to talk about, but...
Well, probably Al Giroux.
Okay. Well...
So I do need to brush up on my Al Giroux.
Who's that?
I need to find out who the hell that is.
Well, he's a singer. Obviously. He's in music.
Oh. All right. Looks like we got homework.
Oh, shit.
Hey, you know what? Rodney didn't really care for it.
You watch, he'll come in, he won't want to talk about that. He'll want to talk about, English lit or something.
I don't know. We can...
We'll talk about whatever...
He's a guy that wants to come on.
Yeah, he's
a guy that responded.
Yeah,
As we spent 3 episodes begging for people to just give us something.
Yeah, and he said he wants to be on, so we said we'd love to have you on, Coach. Hey, he could talk basketball. I don't know a whole lot about basketball. I'd love to learn.
Yeah, that would be a one-man conversation.
Yeah, that's true. But
it's him talking and us going, oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah,
mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like Brian Gumbel. Mm-hmm. 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 So did you make it rain?
But, we'll have him on sometime next month, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'd love to see Rodney.
Yeah,
I
haven't seen him since we graduated.
Well, I haven't. Last time, okay, I'm going to tell the story now.
Okay.
I'll probably tell it the next time when we have him on. But the last time we saw Rodney, my brother and I had just lost our roller hockey championship, and it's sort of really only meaningful activity that we do. And so we were in pretty low spirits, and we decided to go just have a beer to just kind of decompress a little bit. And we ran into Rodney, who had lost in his coaching gig, I think 7th or 8th graders, he just lost his team championship.
Right.
So here we have 3 guys who just lost the big prize. I was sitting there going, tell you what, man, you know what, if we would just had, and he's just going, tell you what, man, those kids, they work so hard, and all just kind of going, crying into our beers.
Yeah,
we were all in the same tree that night. I'll just say that. But
where was that at?
The place where I met my wife.
Oh, okay.
That tells the listeners a lot.
I was trying to keep that a secret.
I don't think anybody cares.
A dive bar.
A dive bar.
Dive bar.
John met his wife in a dive bar. Never forget.
I know.
That's how you knew she was the one.
She doesn't like it when I tell this.
Because I saw him one time after that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, either way, the long-awaited reunion with Coach Rod.
Yeah. It'll be a very long time.
Oh, I think he might be Dr. Rod now, so we'll have to...
Oh, he's a doctor. Yeah, that's right.
We're going to have to read just how we
Can't call him Coach. We have to call him Doc.
I'll call him Doctor, but I'm not calling him Dad.
How about? All right. How about Dr. Coach?
Dr. Coach. Dr. Coach Rod. So anyway, we have spent a bit of time promoting Rodney's appearance and somewhat burying him.
Good. Damn it.
Yeah. You better be good, Rodney. That's all I
got
got
you up a lot.
Yeah. Because.
Yeah. Pressure's on.
Yeah. The listeners, all two of them out there, are really into it. Yeah. Hey, well, it's weird now. I have a harder time keeping track of who listens to the show because we're on.
You're on about 12 different formats.
Yeah,
so
no.
We don't know who's downloading. We don't know who's going through that one app that I can't pronounce, or going through YouTube, or going through Patreon.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah, it's all right. The podcast app that I use for, believe it or not, I listen to other podcasts.
But not
How
really.
dare you?
Not
How dare you, Jeff?
The quality of this one. But some people just don't understand.
This is the only podcast that matters, really.
So I don't listen to this one because I was here. But I found the show on that one. It's Podcast Addict, and it's on there.
This show or
this show?
This show
we
is on
have
podcast.
a lot of irons in the fire, don't we?
Well, there was one episode. It was the last one we did.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that one's up on iTunes, and that one's on YouTube, and I put it up on Wooshka, and I set it to upload on Spotify. I don't know about that one yet. I'm supposed to hear from them. So.
All right. This is the part where we beg for comments.
Yeah, please. Comment on YouTube or the Facebook page or on Twitter. I have a Twitter.
He has one. I saw it.
The show I have a personal Twitter, plus the show has a Twitter.
Mm.
I thought it would be a good idea to separate them.
I saw both of them.
Yeah, well.
I'd never seen either of them.
Are you on Twitter, Jeff?
I don't have a Twitter.
Well, there you go.
There's your answer. All right. Should we get back to our program?
Yeah, let's do that before we've completely derailed here. So.
This the whole show is derailing.
It was 3 hours of banter.
3 hours of banter, and not a topic in sight.
He had one story, and they just kept talking.
So, which did you guys want? Which did you want to talk about first?
Let's do World Cup.
Okay, let's do our World Cup experience and do that first. And say
Jeff's just going to argue with us the whole time.
I'm not going to argue. So there are people like soccer. They like soccer.
How are you arguing?
I was arguing the point that I'm not.
He was arguing his point, but
too late.
Anyway, so we went out to what was that place that we went to?
Kane's Saloon in Dormont.
Okay, we went.
It's actually a soccer bar. On the weekends.
Really?
Oh,
every weekend? Like not just during
during English Premier League season.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now, see, before this, the only one I had known of was Piper's.
See, I didn't know about that, but I ain't going to the damn South Side.
It would have been packed anyway. It would have been worse.
It would have been worse.
Yeah.
We actually lucked out.
Yeah, we did.
We got about maybe 5 to 10 minutes before kickoff, and then we actually able to get booths with space. Not great service, but
oh well.
But if they play the English Premier League all the time, what if you go in there and say you want the ball game on or something?
They'll tell you to go somewhere else.
Tell you to watch it.
Or they'll put it on this TV for you in the corner.
Here's a
But
transistor
meanwhile,
radio,
everybody
you can
else
listen
is
to it on
watching, Liverpool, Watford.
Do they wear those stupid shirts?
Actually, not many people did.
Oh.
I didn't see too many people with shirts.
What I saw was people enjoying the damn game is what I saw. And pretty much the entire... Okay, so the World Cup final was Croatia and France.
Yeah.
So we decided as a group we're going to cheer for Croatia because France wins all the time and Croatia's never been there. Well, the entire bar was written for Croatia for the same reason, I imagine. Didn't talk too many people.
I just assume that it's because there's so many Croatians that actually live in Pittsburgh.
That's true.
Yeah.
People of Croatian descent. There's an old saying that says there's more Croatians in Pittsburgh than there are in Croatia.
Oh!
I don't know if that would be true or not, but
Probably not.
Probably not. But
The population of Pittsburgh or Croatia outnumbers the entire population of Pittsburgh, Croatia.
Okay, so I will say that soccer can be boring, but only if you're impatient. Because I've only watched a handful of matches from start to front now, because I decided not that long ago that we get into it, because the English Premier League team that I have, for no real reason, other than I love the Beatles, other than I know about the tragic '89 Crush story, and the fact that our local radio host talks about them from time to time, I decided to cheer for Liverpool. and they were in the
Makes sense.
Yeah, they were in the UEFA Cup final, which is a big deal. And so I watched that start to finish. And once you get a handful of those under your belt, you kind of understand about how things go. And so it's kind of like, so Jeff, I'll make the argument to you, is that like it's a lot like hockey the way play develops. But the only difference is that it just develops a lot slower.
You're not going to convince me to start watching soccer. I don't want to have to try to like something.
I'm not telling you to try to like it. I'm just saying just watch one.
And I'm not going to tell you you're an asshole for watching the game.
Well,
I didn't come. I didn't want to watch the game. I had other things to do that day.
But if you have nothing to do, would you come? If you had nothing else to do, would you come? Or would you say, no, soccer's gay, and then just not come?
I don't know.
A potential social event?
Maybe.
An opportunity to drink
watch
beer.
The game if it was with others. I'm not going to sit at home and watch the game.
It's an opportunity to drink beer at 10 in the morning.
Because I don't like actually sitting
and
at home.
And not be a weirdo.
I don't like sitting at home and watching football. And I like watching football.
Just come over.
But there's just too many pauses between plays.
You just come over.
I don't know.
Too many pauses between sentences.
Yeah. Too much
very
dead
long
air.
pause. Yeah, there's dead air.
At least the football game has some commercials.
This is like the Clay Douglas show. All of a sudden, there's just so much dead air.
Cut out the pauses and speed it up.
Yeah. So
yeah, we don't have to have that in.
There's too many pauses between commercials.
So we went, and actually, the funny thing that you mentioned, since you bring it up, the social event aspect is the whole reason why I even agreed to go in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
Because to the extent that I supported any team, which was very little.
Right.
Because I was never a soccer fan, and Laura, being a foreigner, she can attest to this. She loves soccer, which actually, oddly enough, isn't really Australia's sport.
Does she watch the footy?
What, the Australian rules football?
No. Rugby, isn't it?
No, the footy is Australian rules football.
Is it? I thought you just told me it was rugby 2 days ago.
I didn't tell you shit.
Whatever. Anyway.
Somebody forgot.
All right, so the footy is the Australian rules football.
So
Laura, please comment. Or at least text me.
She'll tell me. Anyway.
Oh, Lawrence, that Jeff's a real asshole.
She's something like that.
I know.
John, she's a delight.
She sounds nothing like that.
No, she really doesn't.
That's just the Lawrence
Laura
impression I've been doing.
For no reason. Even though you've
just burying her.
I've met her and she's just pleasant.
So, anyway, soccer is like her sport. She used to play it. She really likes it. So she, of course, was rooting for Australia, obviously. They didn't do well. So then she obviously went with Brazil because Brazil was her secondary team, and they win all the time.
Yeah.
Did they not win last year? They may have won last year. They also did not win.
Last year?
And when
No, not last year.
Oh, I was going to say...
The last World Cup.
Last event.
Okay.
Last time.
Is it 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years.
4 years.
Okay.
It's 2 if you count, like, there's the Women's World Cup.
Yeah, no one
it's the
cares
same
about
as
that.
the women, or the winner in the Summer
Yeah,
Olympics.
chick took her shirt off. That was the last time anyone cared about Women's World Cup.
So, anyway, yeah, but I think they won the last one or something. So anyway, when I told her that I happened to see that Brazil had lost, what? That was a real, what?
She wasn't paying attention?
Well, she was at work.
Oh, so you spoiled it for me. She DVR'd the game, man. No. No.
So anyway.
All right, so as a neutral guy, give me your impression of the whole experience.
Well, I'll tell you, I was going to say that we had watched one game the last time together.
Yeah.
I don't remember who was playing. Could not tell you. It ended in a 1-0 game.
Right.
And I was bored the whole time. I really was.
1-0, that's a barn burner.
I was willing to give it a chance, and I was watching it, and it was like, well, this is like hockey if hockey were boring. So that was what I took away from that first experience. I didn't really watch or pay attention to soccer after that until the social event that you invited me to.
Right.
And I said yes because I like to go out and
do shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I like to go out and do shit.
Here's an excuse to hang out.
Yeah, any excuse to hang out, I'll take it. Like doing this podcast. it's an excuse to hang out.
And we get everybody else to listen to it.
Well, yeah.
Well,
so
we're interesting, damn it.
I think we are. So anyway, this particular instance was, it was fun. I actually had a really good time watching the game. It was more exciting than the first game I'd watched. I will say that.
It was a 4-2 game.
Well, yes, there was a lot of scoring involved. What was weird was that
it was weird scoring.
It would be like there was one equivalent I can think of was there was a Steelers game in the playoffs one time. I think it was against the Jaguars one year where they just dominated the play completely, but they still lost the game. Maybe it wasn't a playoff game. It may have just been regular season, but it was a Jaguars game. The Steelers dominated the whole play, and they still lost because the Jaguars got a couple of fluky touchdowns. And it happens,
It happens, yeah.
It happens in all sports, and this is a prime example of that. Croatia dominated play for most of the game.
Right.
But France got a couple of fluky goals.
One was an own goal. One was a penalty kick off a handball in the box.
Mm-hmm.
We were sitting there discussing, we don't know the rules.
Yeah.
What is that? What's that going to be? Turns out it's a penalty kick.
Yeah.
Of course, they scored on that because penalty kicks, the goalie's just guessing. I'm going to dive this way. I wonder if he's going to go that way too. And Croatia had 2. France had 2 otherwise legitimate goals.
Yeah.
Still kind of goofy.
But I don't know who that goalie for Croatia was.
That guy's out of a job.
I would have fired his fucking ass if I don't know anything about it. This guy would have been benched.
Well, whenever there's just a scrum of players at the top of the goal box, and he doesn't know where the ball is, and just decides to dive in a direction that's the wrong way, it was fucking embarrassing, actually.
Yeah, it was. But I don't know. It was fun.
It was fun.
What did that guy say to you when we went to sit down at the table? It was like the only open table at the joint, by the way.
Yeah.
The place was packed.
He said, "Are you cheering for Croatia?" And I would have said, "Yeah, either way." But luckily we were cheering for Croatia, so I didn't have to lie to the guy. But we needed a damn table.
I often wonder what would have happened. No, we're French all the way.
They're going to kick you out?
No, just some guy that
some guy
who was waiting for people.
Yeah.
So he probably would have said, "Well, I'm waiting for somebody." So
I thought maybe it was the person who was seating you.
No.
Who said, "Are you?"
Although
are you
I have
cheering for
ourselves.
Croatia? And then they seat you in the back.
I have a similar experience. I don't recall telling this in the last podcast, but my wife and I went to San Diego for a week, and we arrived.
You were going to tell this story. But
I was going to tell the story, but probably got
Jeff
sidetracked.
buried you, so.
Oh, well. So we arrived that day, and we get to the hotel. It's 11 a.m. local time, and I've been up since 3:30 Pittsburgh time. So just want to grab a bite, grab a drink, and then just crash. And there's a few seats at the bar, but the guy had his shit on one of the seats. And so we said, "Is it okay if we sit here?" And at the time, I realized that people were gathered around televisions because Egypt was playing Russia in the World Cup. And a lot of these people looked vaguely Egyptian. And the gentleman with the shit all over the seat said, "Oh yeah, no problem." And by shit, I mean stuff. I don't mean it literally.
Yeah, he took a dump all over the seat.
Gross.
"Well, are you cheering for Egypt?"
Yeah, sure. You don't sound Russian to me.
And the reason why I was cheering for Egypt because I don't have the opportunity ever before in my life to watch a World Cup match with foreign nationals who give a shit. And so because of that, I wanted to be in on it. And so I watched it. And even though Russia blew Egypt's doors off, but still to be part of that, camaraderie, just part of that. It was so cool. It was really, really cool. And so that was an experience I was glad to have, just kind of stumble into, really.
So is that guy going to not move his stuff if you said you were cheering for Russia?
No, he would have moved his stuff anyway because it was the right thing to do, and he's a nice guy.
How do you know?
Because he was a nice guy. I spoke to him for most of the match.
But did you ask him?
Did I ask him? Let's just say he cracked a lot of jokes, and I'm pretty sure "Are you cheering for Egypt" is one of them.
Anyway, yeah. So That was a fun experience. I'd watch another game, I think,
Well,
with a social aspect
In
involved.
4 years.
no, we're going to go with English Premier League now. Because, actually, it was part of the conversation at the World Cup.
Oh, yeah,
matches.
we talked about that.
We were discussing our teams, and unfortunately, Lawrence, he picked a real loser.
Well, I might as well just go for. I might as well root for Liverpool too. Because the Beatles are from there.
Yeah, but the Beatles cheered for Everton. Also from Liverpool, but they're terrible.
And I couldn't pick Plymouth Argyle, where my family was from, because they're not in the Premier League.
They're in the two leagues
they're
below
League
that.
One. Yeah, they're in League One.
2 leagues below that. And Doug decided, because based on a Bill Simmons article from 12 years ago, he's going to root for Tottenham Hotspur, which is fine with me, a London team, but better than cheering for Arsenal, I guess. I don't know. I haven't gotten wind of all the rivalries yet, so.
Who's the best? Is it Manchester United?
Well, I think who
It was
won.
West Ham or something. Isn't it?
No, not West Ham. I think who won this year was Manchester City. It used to be Manchester United was the Yankees.
Oh.
Or better yet, Manchester United was the Lakers. And Manchester City was the Clippers.
Who's the Pirates?
Southampton, probably.
Yeah, Southampton. West Ham. Leicester City. A lot of shitty teams.
Bristol.
And who's the Toronto Blue Jays?
Watford.
Is it like a team from Wales or something that could be?
Actually, there's a few Wales teams, yeah. At least one. There's Crystal Palace, who, The thing is, the teams that tend to win all the time because there's no salary cap. You can just spend as much as you want if you're ownership. But
Sounds like
which
baseball.
Liverpool has ownership with deep pockets, so they're really trying.
Hey,
I only followed one game for Liverpool, and it wasn't even the Premier League. So I'm looking forward to doing that. This is something else to watch, really. I can get into, and hopefully I can. I don't know what it's going to take for me to cheer for Liverpool and be bummed when they lose the way that it takes for me to be like the way the Penguins lose and I'm bummed.
I don't know if I could ever get to that point.
I don't know if I could either.
I don't think I could.
But I enjoy the process. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy, like, if you have just a little bit more patience than with the fast-paced American sports that we're used to. Plus, Jeff, you hate commercials. The entire first half, no commercials.
But
the entire second half, no commercials.
But you know what I hate even more than commercials? Poor sportsmanship.
And now we come to the subject of diving. Diving is something of a tradition in soccer.
And I hate it so much. It's the pussiest
This
thing
game
I've ever seen.
This game that we watched, there was no diving.
Good. I'm
No,
glad.
there wasn't. There wasn't any diving. That's
Good.
right.
But
Somebody did get. Somebody got right in the face,
he got
and he was.
He fell over.
Yeah, he was
and
down.
He earned it.
Yeah, that was not a dive. That was an injury.
Not even a red card.
That's why I wonder if maybe I don't know, I haven't talked about this on the podcast, but there was a year when we played soccer when we were kids that I was a bit of a goon because we moved to the bigger field and I wasn't good anymore.
No, it's good.
So I would
We
just
lost every game that year.
Yeah, but I would hit people a lot. And I was always very clean about it.
Shoulder to shoulder. You're good.
Shoulder to shoulder, you got to get the ball.
Shoulder to shoulder plus the ball.
Plus the ball, and then they'd knock them over. And now I wonder, maybe they were just diving the whole time, and I wasn't actually that good at knocking people over.
No, these are Americans, and just about every American has played soccer at some point. None of them ever liked it. That's why there's no good American soccer players out there.
I liked it for like a half a year.
We played for a lot longer than we liked it.
I didn't play at all.
You didn't miss anything.
No, I know.
You missed a lot of
You
running.
mean I didn't miss Jimmy running around chasing a butterfly?
Oh, Jimmy. We played with Jimmy.
I
We
know.
played with Jimmy. His dad was their coach.
Certainly was.
R.I.P. Jim.
Jim Lewis. And, well, I wasn't good. Jeff wasn't good. Jimmy wasn't good. So we just enjoyed just not being good.
No, I had
Together.
one season, well, before Jimmy was around. Actually, it was the first year of Jimmy that I would hit people a lot.
By the way, this isn't the karaoke Jimmy. I just want to
Right, that's
establish
right.
that.
Different
Oh, that's
Jimmy.
right.
This is the Jimmy that I'm friends with.
Karaoke Jimmy is old.
Yeah.
This Jimmy, soccer Jimmy or school Jimmy, he's our age.
Yeah. Doing quite well for himself.
Doing quite well for himself in Washington.
Good for him.
Shaking and moving, wheeling and dealing.
Bumping elbows.
I always enjoyed.
Schmoozing.
I enjoyed when I last got a chance to see him I was actually going to go to his dad. They were having like I wouldn't call it a service, but it was a
remembrance.
Yeah, a remembrance for his dad. I was going to go to that, but I mean, I was sad that I couldn't see him then. But the last time I saw him at his birthday party, we were bullshitting about. He was giving me all the dirt down in Washington. It was great. I loved it.
And who has VD?
Paul Ryan.
He sure does. Any good dirt or just
It was mostly just like, no, this guy's okay. This guy's dumber than you think. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nothing really stuck out at me except for him talking about how Paul Ryan. You can talk to him. You can talk to him. You can talk to him all you want until you're blue in the face. If you say, okay, this won't work and this is why, it doesn't register with him apparently. It just goes through one ear and out the other, and he will spout back at you some kind of free market, Friedmanite.
Talking points.
Yeah. And so he's like, so the only conclusion is that...
is what you're saying.
Yeah, so the only conclusion is that
Paul Ryan, he's not listening.
Yeah. So the only conclusion is that he drank the Kool-Aid a long time ago. What he calls the conservative Kool-Aid. That's what he's, ideological Kool-Aid.
Well, if we get ideology, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah. Any ideological Kool-Aid, he drank the Kool-Aid.
Right.
So
call it what you will.
Yeah. That's how he put it to me. So I remember that. There was a couple other things he said that, were mostly minor, but I always enjoy hearing some gossip from him, from down in Washington.
He loved gossip. Probably still does.
Well, I don't get a chance to talk to him that often. I invited him on the show one time, but he couldn't, because, got to clear all that with the bosses.
He's busy shaking and moving and wheeling and dealing.
Well, there was some kind of thing where he couldn't make any media appearances at all.
This counts as media? This is media?
Apparently, this counts as media because I would upload it. And I'm talking about the original incarnation of the show that I was putting on Stitcher and that.
Right, yeah.
Apparently, it did count as a media appearance because it was on a format like Stitcher Radio where anybody could download it.
So if 8 people hear it...
So if 8 people heard it, he could have gotten in trouble from what I gathered.
From his congressional bosses.
Yeah. And this was a while ago. This was during the... But yeah, apparently, and I haven't asked him again because he's still working down there, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. So.
Someday I'm going to ask him again when he's all done with this. And I'm going to get some real shit from him. and it'll really blow this podcast up, I'm telling you. Anyway.
It'll be an expose.
Yeah, an expose.
Spent 3 episodes teasing it for the entire episode.
So
it's an hour and a half. Believe me, it's going to be great.
This is going to blow up, folks. So I hope he's listening. I don't know if he listens or not, but he may.
I doubt he has the time.
Well, yeah.
Jimmy, if you're listening.
Jimmy, if you're listening, let me know. For God's sakes.
Like, comment, subscribe.
So.
Well, he's got to deal with that DC traffic.
Yeah,
yes, you have lots of traffic.
Yeah,
so
why
not
not
go on the Lawrence Watson Show?
Listen on iTunes.
Download, and you won't use your data.
I don't think. I don't know. Anyway.
Depends where you download.
So anyway, soccer was kind of fun. I enjoyed the World Cup final. I would be willing to watch it again. So I'll put it that way.
Well, come September, we'll be drinking at 10 a.m. and you get to watch. Hang out with.
Time to get up. You got to get up early and get ready to go.
Well, it's a good excuse anyway.
Yes.
It becomes a social event. You have your community of folks,
Why not?
Where was the World Cup held?
Russia.
It was in Russia. Okay. And then the next one is in
Qatar.
Qatar.
Oh
okay.
yeah, that big nonsense.
Because nothing spells good athletic competition like 122-degree Fahrenheit weather.
Well, they'll probably have it indoors or something, I imagine.
That process was so crooked.
It was, yeah.
And a whole bunch of people died.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crooked nonsense when it comes to that.
Oh.
FIFA is one of the most crooked organizations in the world.
Yeah, well,
All right. Well.
Oh, I think we've beaten this horse dead, don't you?
I think the dead horse is sufficiently beaten.
Okay, so we're going to go into our next topic, which is not just a film. This is a project. Is that right, Jeff? A project. Would you describe?
I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
Well, that's how they describe it, I think.
It's more of an experience.
So, we're all fans of a movie called Windy City Heat. So, this movie was kind of niche. So I don't know if you all are familiar with this. But this movie basically involves this fella, Perry.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I want to introduce something about this.
Okay,
so
well, I'll turn it over to Jeff. He's the most knowledgeable on this.
Because lately, with the Disaster Artist coming out, which we touched on a little, we talked about it for a minute or so in the last
John hasn't
podcast.
Seen it, so.
But so Tommy Wiseau is picking up some heat right now, and he's known as a delusional person with a big dream, and I compare him a lot to the lesser-known version, which is Perry Caravello, also delusional person, clearly with some kind of mental illness.
Has to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Has to be.
And the difference is Perry Caravello didn't care what he did. He just wanted to be famous.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau wanted to be specifically an actor. Yeah. Perry Caravello just wanted to be famous. And so what happened was there were two gentlemen. It'd be Don Barris
and Tony Barbieri. Yeah, the mole.
They spent before the movie came out, they spent about 10 years or so screwing with him.
At least, yeah.
They used to do a show at the some comedy club in L.A.
Would it have been the...
It was the Extreme Gong Show, and I think they did like the Improv or something like
Comedy
that.
Store.
Comedy Store. I think it was the Comedy Store.
The Comedy Store.
Okay, so Perry Caravello was frequented that show, and they started fucking with him.
They also had a public access show, too.
They did?
Yeah.
So I didn't know about that.
And Jimmy Kimmel was their announcer.
Okay. Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel was also loosely involved in the whole thing, too.
Yeah.
But anyway, that all culminated in the movie Windy City Heat, which is a making of a movie, but it's a making of a movie that never actually got made. And the entire thing is them convinced Perry Caravello, this delusional person, that he was going to be the star of a big Hollywood movie where he would play a sports private investigator. And of course, it's a completely ridiculous occupation.
Stone Fury.
But it made perfect sense to him. And through all the various scenes that they would film where they would mess with him and all the terrible shit they did to him, he never figured it out. And to this day, I don't believe he's really quite grasped that the whole thing was just a farce.
Prank.
A prank. And this movie came out, 1999?
Something like that.
2001,
somewhere in there.
Yeah, 99 to 2001, something around there. So it's been over...
It's been almost 2 decades.
It's been a long time.
Now, I like to preface this with, it may sound like this is just a cruel practical joke. However, very early on in this film, you realize exactly how shallow this guy's dreams are.
Yeah, Perry is not
right. It's like I said, he just wanted to be... I want to be a star. I want to be famous.
I don't want to be an actor. I just want to be a star.
Exactly.
So we're going to start there.
And not only that, the guy's a complete asshole.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
If it's not apparent in the movie, then everything he did after that, it's really obvious. Yeah. He's just a dickhead.
He really is, yeah. He follows me on Twitter, by the way.
Get out.
Really? Scary Perry Caravello. You should tease the show.
Scare Master.
And guess what? Even if he listens to it, he still won't understand what exactly is going on because he just wants to be a star.
I think just because he follows everybody who follows him or follows most people who follow him, maybe. But he does follow me on Twitter.
Get out.
Well, tweet the show to him.
I might get a Twitter just to get Scary Perry following me.
So, yeah, they convince Perry that he's going to be the star of this movie. And they take him through the whole process of, like, auditioning. And the director is...
Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yeah, Bobcat Goldthwait. And he actually directed the movie. Like, he directed all the segments. I mean, he put the film together.
Right, he directed the real movie.
He directed the movie and the movie...
The movie we saw and the movie within the movie.
Yeah. So they take him through the audition process, and of course they fuck with him from the start,
They have him audition against Carson Daly.
Yeah, Carson Daly, and Carson Daly comes like, the only person I'm going up against for this part is some guy named Scary Ferry or something.
Well, they keep on pronouncing his name wrong.
Yeah, and his last name is always spelled wrong in promotional material and everything. Perry Caramello.
Perry Carvello.
Perry Carvello. All that stuff. It's so great. So he goes to the audition. They tell him he's won the role of Stone Fury. He acts like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to him in his life. He's in tears. Like legitimate tears. He believes that he's gotten this role. And they start filming the movie, and they tell him apparently that all these cameras and that following him around, it's all for the DVD extras. So
Right. They like to do a making of the movie.
Yeah. It's all DVD extras. Don't worry about it, Perry. Just ignore the cameras and that. He treats some of this...
Damn dog.
He treats some of this... So anyway... So he the whole time he's giving interviews and telling little backstory bits about himself, and
none of them are any good.
Yeah, none of them are any good except for the one where he mentions that he blew Randy Callahan.
Yeah.
Or did he allowed Randy Callahan to blow him.
Something like that.
Right, and he just gave him a hand job.
Yeah, he gave Randy Callahan the hand job, and Randy Callahan blew him.
Right.
Okay.
And then anytime that there's any gay reference made, he flips.
He's
deeply
homophobic.
Extremely homophobic.
He's, in fact, during the course of the movie, Tom Kenny, who you all know as SpongeBob SquarePants.
That's right. Yeah.
He plays the gay.
That was Tom Kenny?
Yes, it was Tom Kenny.
I didn't know that.
He plays the gay
stylist, and he's dressing him.
Yeah.
And he gives him the leather chaps. And then Perry wants to know why he's wearing leather chaps. He says, "Oh, this isn't the set of Oklahomos."
Oh, I have it totally wrong.
And let's just delve into a little bit the subject of the names that are used throughout this movie.
Yeah.
The president of the studio is John Quincy Adams.
John Quincy Adams,
the president of show business.
Well, hold on a second. John Quincy Adams is played by Tony Barbieri, who Perry knows as Walter Molinsky or Mole, and he never picks up that this is the same person. That John Quincy Adams is Mole.
Yeah.
And even so they did a podcast, the Big Three podcast, because they called themselves the Big Three. That was Perry,
Don Barris, and Mole.
Don Barris and Mole. On the Big Three podcast, they would have John Quincy Adams call in to every single show. And because they knew exactly what Perry would say, they could pre-record John Quincy Adams.
I didn't know they did this.
Yes, they did this. They
this
had
is great.
John Quincy Adams, who was actually Mole, who was sitting right next to Perry, pre-recorded on a fake phone call that he was responding to.
And there was casting director Roman Polanski.
Right,
who was Dane Cook.
That was Dane Cook, played Roman Polanski.
And the set photographer Ansel Adams.
Ansel Adams, played by Toby Huss.
Toby Huss.
Yes, Toby Huss.
Yeah,
Cotton Hill.
That was Toby Huss.
Cotton Hill.
Artie, the strongest man in the world. And
a bunch of other stuff.
And I'm the Wiz, and nobody beats me. Nobody beats the Wiz.
Had this quiet dignity about him.
And a whole bunch of other stuff.
A whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Good character.
Plenty of voice acting and all that kind of stuff.
I killed Betty Man.
That's another show we could do a podcast.
What happened to Hank's wife, Hank?
Hank's wife.
Where's Hank's wife?
It was the smelly man.
I tell you, the man with a terrible smell.
That's the show we should do the podcast about.
God dang it, Dale, Bill, probably Dale.
Yeah, where Bill goes to kill himself, he takes the ladder and the lights all fall off. He's like, "Oh, my 10-footer's gone." Dale or Bill, probably Dale. What you doing up there, Bill? Satellite trouble? No, I'm just up here to kill myself. But anyway, back to Windy City Heat.
All right, we're going to do a little bit of King of the Hill at the end of this.
Yeah, we got to. So
we'll get back to it somehow.
Yeah, we'll go around.
Just circle the block.
So, what was another good bit? I liked the bit where they start filming, in quotations. They start filming, and one of the best bits is right at the beginning where they start, where Dawn and Mole play characters that are beating up Perry.
Yeah.
And at the end of the scene, he's dumped into a
dumpster.
Dumpster.
It's a dumpster.
He's dumped into a dumpster. So he's picked up and dumped into the dumpster, and he comes out. He looks like he's got a concussion.
and then they decide that the dumpster needs some more shit.
Yeah. Can we actually fill that up with some poop? I'll never get over hearing Bobcat Goldthwait call it poop.
How about this Bobcat Goldthwait just speaks to the megaphone?
Right. He always speaks through a megaphone.
The entire movie.
The entire movie.
Perry.
No, I think my favorite scene was actually the stunt bat.
Oh yeah, that's the best one.
Because they have the real bat and the stunt bat next to each other.
Oh, what are you doing? That's Laura's favorite scene in the movie too. When we watched that, she was howling. She loved that bit, and that's my favorite bit as well. They've got Perry tied up in the chair. They've got a real bat and a rubber bat.
The stunt bat.
Yeah, the stunt bat.
One has blue tape and one has red tape.
And they've got Perry. They've got Perry gagged.
Mm-hmm.
So Mole obviously picks up the wrong bat to hit Perry with, and Perry, the look on his face of sheer terror. Oh, it's the wrong bat! He's screaming. And then, of course, finally, Bobcat comes in and goes, cut, stops everything.
Wrong bat.
And then they take lunch and leave him tied up. That was.
They turn all the studio lights off.
Yeah. That actually happened to Shemp Howard one time.
Really?
Yeah. On the set of an Abbott and Costello movie called Africa Screams. As a prank, since Shemp was afraid of water, they thought it would be absolutely hilarious if they left him in the boat that all the characters were on while they all went off and got lunch. Oh. So they left him tied in the raft that they were all on for the whole lunch, and he's just going, "Can somebody get me out of here, please? Help!"
I've seen your Shemp.
Yeah. But anyway, so
I think we've done away way too many great parts.
Yeah, we really have. But
so go watch it, please.
Definitely watch this movie. It's hilarious.
Highly recommended.
The whole thing's on YouTube, actually.
Yeah, actually,
is it really?
Yeah, the whole movie's on YouTube. You can find it real easy. Actually, and I think you can find some Big 3 podcasts on YouTube as well.
Oh, I mean, you can go on any podcast app and find all the Big 3 podcasts. But I definitely recommend watching the movie first.
Yeah, definitely watch the movie
first. So you get an idea of what you're listening to.
Who's delusional, has shallow dreams,
mentally ill,
and think that he's some combination of Sam Kinison and Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does really think that.
Jack and Jill went up the hill.
There's a video on YouTube. It's not related to the movie or anything, but it is the Big 3, and it must have been done in the 90s sometime, where they're all in Perry's apartment. And there's a bit where Mole, off camera, goes, "Hey Perry, what are these? Are these CDs?" And Perry, when he says, "Hey Perry, what? Are these CDs?" The look of sheer terror on Perry's face when Mole mentions his CDs. His eyes bug out. He looks over at the camera. You can see that he's terrified of what's about to happen. "Don't touch them!"
Oh shit!
Don't touch them!
And even on the podcast, you'd hear him talking about the CDs.
CDs.
The very important CDs.
Are there any important CDs that you can't just replace for $12?
Less than that.
Apparently these were really important CDs. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a good one. And Perry is so delusional. There are videos of him all over YouTube doing ridiculous shit like skateboarding, where he proceeds to fall as he's skateboarding, which was one of my favorites. Oh, shit.
Well, one of the big things on that they made fun of him for a lot on the podcast was that he was converting to become a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, yeah.
And when he talked about his baptism, after he actually got baptized as a Jehovah's Witness, well, first of all, they keep calling it Javaho.
Javaho.
And they make it sound like it's a religion for dogs. So they keep joking about dogs. They're dog worshippers. That's one of the big jokes they make. And it pisses Perry off, of course. It's all done to piss Perry off.
Of course, everything's done.
Everything they've done in the last 25 years is done to piss Perry off. But anyway, when Perry talks about getting baptized, in true fashion to just who he is, they go to dunk him in the water. I guess they have a pool of water when they baptize the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
And he falls and tries to grab the Jehovah's Witness priest or whatever they have, and he also falls into the water. And it's a complete disaster. Because what else would it be with this guy?
Like everything else he's ever done.
Exactly.
This is great.
Yeah.
Show business.
But here's something I found interesting. Because I'm obsessed with these kind of things. People like Tommy Wiseau and Perry Caravello, who have these weird mental illnesses where they're not completely insane, but they're just like totally off.
Yeah.
You know.
Like us, for example, the show.
We know exactly what this is.
Yeah, we know.
I think we're all pretty aware.
We have 4 listeners, and 3 of them are us.
Yeah.
But here's what they have in common. In their backgrounds, they have a car accident with a brain injury. Yes.
Interesting.
And I think in both of their cases, the reason why they're the way they are is because of brain damage.
Probably frontal lobe.
Could be.
Maybe.
Frontal lobe does everything.
Fascinating.
Because they're kind of similar.
I wonder if
the delusions.
Some people who actually listen and know what I'm. Some people might know Neil Breen. This is a similar guy.
Don't know Neil Breen.
You're on your own here, buddy.
This is a very. You guys have got it,
son. You're on your own.
You guys will, especially you, Jeff. I think you'll really enjoy this guy's movies. Trust me, Neil Breen.
I'll have to look him up.
Look him up. You can find some stuff on YouTube involving him and stuff. You will really like this shit. I'm telling you.
Is he completely delusional?
Yes, absolutely.
Ooh.
Totally. 100%.
That's my bag.
Oh, yeah.
I love delusional.
He is so delusional that he makes Tommy Wiseau look
competent?
Slightly competent. He makes Tommy Wiseau look slightly less delusional. This guy believes that all his movies that he makes, which are Z grade, I mean, fuck, Ed Wood made better movies.
That's what I was just thinking was Ed Wood.
Yeah,
it sounds like
these
Ed
are
Wood.
These are Ed Wood budget type movies.
I could make a whole picture just out of stock footage.
Yeah, that's what he did. Yeah, this is Neil Breen's movies are about 60% stock footage. I would say maybe more. Now some reviewers will say they're like 90% stock footage.
Balding men are mobilized immediately.
But anyway,
stock footage out there.
So yeah, some of his his movies are mostly stock footage. What isn't stock footage is poorly shot, poorly lighted.
Ed Wood.
It looks like it's done on a handheld. That he proceeded not to sweeten in any way. Especially his first movie, Double Down, which somehow surreptitiously ended up available to stream on Netflix for a time. It really did. And this movie, the credits are the best part of his movies. Because, now listen.
Did you see the credits though?
Yeah, well, they're great because, especially after Double Down.
I'm betting half of them are him.
Yeah. It's like directed by Neil Breen, starring Neil Breen, produced by Neil Breen, catering by Neil Breen, lighting, none. Lighting, none was the best.
Written by Neil Breen.
Yeah.
Special thanks, Neil Breen.
Yeah.
Lighting, the sun.
And there was another movie he did where the gag was, I think he got wise to this gag, that he got that people thought this would be amusing, where there was a bunch of companies that he came up with to do certain things like lighting and, camera and stuff. And all these companies had B or N in them. And at the bottom, they list all the credits, and there's, whatever they are, Neil Breen, blah, blah, blah. And all these companies that did, catering and stuff. After the credits, there's a little thing at the bottom that says, all companies that have N or B in them are fictitious. The work was actually done by Neil Breen. This guy is tremendous, Jeff.
Oh, my God. I have to check him out.
On YouTube, look up Neil Breen.
I have to check him out.
You have to.
This is just going to aid and abet his crippling YouTube addiction as it is.
Well, this is worth it. He already has the problem anyway, so you might as well go for it.
The last thing I
Keep
need.
chasing that purple dragon.
Yeah, man. This is the high of highs. This guy right here.
I can't go back. Everything else is inadequate.
Yeah, this guy is the high of highs. I'm telling you, if this is a crippling YouTube addiction,
it's not just a YouTube. I mean, that's a whole rabbit hole for me to fall into.
No longer the best of Hank Hill will be adequate anymore.
The best of Hank Hill. The moments Bill Dauterive was all of us.
I don't watch videos like that.
Oh, really?
There's not a whole lot of King of the Hill on YouTube.
No, there really isn't, because there used to be a lot of King of the Hill YouTube poop, if you guys are familiar with that.
That's unwatchable.
Which is really dumb.
It's unwatchable.
But that's about it. That's about all there would be. And so if you really wanted to... there was one that I remember was actually good and enjoyable as a King of the Hill YouTube poop that was funny. I think it's gone now, but it was.
Probably
it was
because
funny.
it was good.
Yeah, it was the only good one that I ever saw, and there are hundreds of them, but there was one good one, and I missed that one dearly. And that one was funny, and a lot of it involved loser. You're a loser. Are you feeling sorry? You're a loser.
So I was trying to just shoehorn in a segue here because I think to close this out, we'll talk about a little bit about King of the Hill.
He wanted to talk King of the Hill.
A little bit, yeah, because it came up.
Yeah, it did.
And Jeff had to bring up Tuppy Huss, and well, here we are.
See, he was on King of the Hill.
Hell yeah, it's Cotton Hill. What was the smelling man?
He was also Con's Supernuisson phone.
Oh, it was.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That makes sense why he was in all the credits. You know, Cotton wasn't in that many episodes.
Con was
in a lot more.
Con was in many more.
Most of them.
So we have to. Okay, so we'll just give a basic discussion here.
Okay.
I
didn't know because this totally was unplanned. This King of the Hill.
Oh no, this was not in the notes.
Yeah, no.
Or the agenda, or
not at all. We actually covered the agenda. This episode should be over by now.
I actually had it in my notes.
Really?
Yeah, I subconsciously steered things to King of the Hill.
Oh, well, that makes sense. It's a good show.
No, I didn't do that.
All right, passing the rock to you. No, this is my idea to keep going here. So, my question is what about the humor of King of the Hill do you find most appealing? Because I'm going to just say what I think it was. I'm going to go with the subtlety of it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. It's certainly not another.
It's not in your face.
It's a little like Bob's Burgers in a way. A lot,
No, it's
spiritual success.
I would more so than that.
Well, true, but
because it seemed like there was so much more attention to detail in the humor. Is that the joke wasn't out in front of you, but if you just paid a little bit of attention, it was there. And the best example I can give, and I've told you guys this dozens of times by this point, but it was.
But now it's the first time for the listener.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was later. It was a later episode. It was the Con karaoke episode where his father-in-law is staying over, and so Min, Con's wife, wants to talk to her dad. And he's watching one of those strongman competitions on television. And he says, "Don't talk to me. I shall not listen to you when Gerhard Mueller is pulling." And you see the TV screen, and you see a guy with a rope in his teeth, and he's pulling something. And then that shot pans out, and he's pulling a bus. But the best detail of it was the bus said on top, "Not in service."
Yeah, not in service. I remember that.
And I fucking lost it. I was watching it with Doug, and we both could not breathe because that detail was okay. Guy pulling a bus, great, but guy pulling a bus says "not in service" because for some reason it's necessary to put that up there because there's a strong man pulling it with his teeth. Like, to me, that was, and there's so many more examples of that, but that is my greater point of King of the Hill. And so I guess my question to you is what makes it great? Besides that, or elaborate on that, or...
Well, my favorite thing about King of the Hill is just Hank Hill. He's one of my favorite television characters of all time.
And I think everybody has one.
Just he's responsible
to a fault.
Just to the point where it's hilarious. I'm trying to think of an example, and it's that line that I can never remember where it comes from. I don't remember which episode it is or what the situation was when he looks at something, he's riding on the rim. It may never be true again.
I've had to bring Bill and Dale into the garage before, but not you, Boomhauer.
There was a whole episode, actually, dedicated to that topic of how specifically dedicated Hank is to being responsible.
Right, yeah. Where they quit inviting him to
things.
And then when they don't invite him at all, everything just
falls apart, yeah.
We need you, Hank!
What was the one where and then there have been times where Hank lets it loose.
Yeah.
And it automatically backfires for him. Like the time he mooned Ann Richards. And he was the only one who mooned Ann Richards.
Did I think that bony ass was yours?
Oh,
I knew it was Hank.
That was
the whole time.
That's the one where it's Bill's birthday and he shows up and Hank, we gotta go. It's Bill's birthday. My day ends at 5 p.m. not 4:45.
Someone's got a birthday. I wonder
who. Someone's got a birthday. I wonder who. Speaking of him, Stephen Root.
Underrated.
So underrated.
As an actor.
One of the best character actors working today, period.
Definitely.
So good, you're surprised to find out that he was William de La Fontaine La Tour d'Autrive.
I was never surprised. He's fantastic.
He's the cast as a whole is really good.
Right, yeah.
It's such a good cast for any animated series.
Okay, take a guy like Mike Judge, who cares. All of his voices are based in something.
Yeah.
And so to hear him talk about Hank Hill, which was originally Tom Anderson.
Yeah, it was Tom Anderson.
Right.
It was
Did
based
I catch you whacking in here?
That's the guy who's always whacking off in my tool shed.
It was based on like whenever he was a newspaper delivery boy, but he was new, and then he went to go collect and goes, "You're not my paper boy. I've seen my paper boy." All right, we're not getting your paper. Well, we'll get my paper when my paper boy comes. I'll tell you what, this is God's country.
But I mean, Stephen Root, he's so good as Bill. This is a guy who, and keep in mind, he was doing this at the same time. The first season of King of the Hill, he was also still on News Radio.
Oh, Jimmy James.
Yeah, as Jimmy James.
Oh, I didn't know if News Radio was still.
That's a great show.
It is a great show.
Until the end, but that's a whole. We all know about the story of Phil Hartman and that.
Yeah.
But as we hear Henry walking through.
Well, let's keep an eye on things. Yeah. Letting us ever going over time.
Yeah, well,
checking the
we're
levels.
Okay. I mean, well, hell's bells. We had 2.5 hours at the that I had to edit. But anyway, so Stephen Root, at the same time he was on King of the Hill, the first season was towards the end of News Radio. I think it was the last season or next to last, something like that. He could not be credited on King of the Hill while he was credited on News Radio because they're on different networks.
Oh.
But at the same time, it's so interesting to think of how this guy, at the same time, is so good that he's playing one character that's a sad sack, depressive, melancholy, low Bill, while playing Jimmy James, who is the total opposite of everything Bill. Jimmy James is, he's your lovable, playful billionaire.
Man of hubris.
That's how good Stephen Root is that he can play characters like that at the same time, essentially. We'll just go back and forth. He can play anything. That's what I really love about the guy.
All right. Now,
and he played who most people probably know him as is the
Milton from
Milton from
Office Space.
Office Space, yeah.
That's got to be Laura's favorite movie.
Yeah.
It has to be your favorite movie.
Last time I didn't receive a piece.
All right, I'm going to close this discussion.
Okay, because we're rapidly coming up on 2 hours, and we want to end it right.
With the key to a spot-on Boomhauer impression. And all you have to do, you throw a lot of dangles in there.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah.
But you have to start with, tell you what, man.
Tell you what, man, dangle.
Tell you what, man, dangle, talking about, podcast was going on, just talking about yapping, just gibbering and jabbering, just yap, and then dangle, just, yo, man. End it with dangle, just, yo, man.
I love the one episode where it's the homage to the Three Stooges, where they're all in the firehouse.
Oh.
And there's the flashback where Boomhauer speaks normally.
Everybody
else is dang old pretty
There's
pizza.
Boomhauer.
Guys,
can you keep it down? I've been reading this
article about vintage Camaros, and I had spent 20 minutes on the same dang page.
So, I think that was a good spot to close this episode out.
Oh, yeah.
We've had an absolute blast with this one. This one was probably our best work yet.
I think we're going to get a podcast award for this one.
Yeah.
It's called the Podcast Awards.
We're no longer running on Fumes Award, I think was the word that Jeff used in the last one.
Yeah, I think so.
But this one was, this was great. So,
this is when we had to put the brakes on instead of just
doing
it on our own.
We could, literally, we could have probably gone another 2 or 3 hours on just this alone.
Yeah, but we all got work.
The way we're talking, we got shit to do. It's already.
We make big money with the podcasting. Right?
Yeah.
Show business.
We're
billionaires.
We're show biz.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you all for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at Watson Show or at Lawrence J. Watson.
At Watson_show.
Yes.
That's necessary.
Okay, at Watson_show. Well, I imagine if you search for it on Twitter, you'll find it.
You'd be surprised.
Well,
a lot of Watsons out there.
At Watson
That dickhead
_
from Sherlock Holmes, for example.
With that computer that won Jeopardy.
So, at Watson_show. You can like our Facebook group, The Lawrence Watson Show. You can follow me on Twitter personally, Lawrence J. Watson. What else is there? Oh, listen to the show on Patreon, John.
Yeah.
Or or you can listen to it.
That's the only reason why I want the show is because I pay $2 per episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're a little short of our $1 billion goal.
Yeah. So you can listen there, or you can wait 3 days after I put it up there, where you can find it on. I'll put it up on YouTube. It'll be on iTunes. You'll be able to find it on your phone.
We're on Wooshka, so you can
We're on
download
Wooshka, so you can download it.
We may or may not be on Spotify.
We may or may not be on Spotify by the time this airs. If not,
but if you're listening to us, then you've found us somewhere else anyhow.
Yeah,
we'll be producing 8-track tapes.
Talking about
cassettes, records,
the trunk
25s.
of my '67 Chevy Nova. That is mostly primer.
So I think that about covers everything. There's so much now. It used to be so simple. I used to be able to just say Podomatic and Stitcher, but now there's a whole thing.
We got lots of places to find us.
Lots of places you can find us.
And if we haven't mentioned it, look there.
Yeah, look everywhere. But anyway, we're on iTunes and everything else now, so it shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, so for John and for Jeff. So for John and for Jeff.
Good night.
I'm Lawrence. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.